Welcome to This Week in Sim Racing, August 19th, 2011 edition. I'm Jessica Lopez.
And I'm Darren Ganji, and This Week in Sim Racing is sponsored by iRacing.com. Get 3 months for the price of one by heading over to our website at InsideSimRacing.tv and clicking on any of the iRacing banners you see there.
Speaking of our website, it's come a long way from its very beginning, and it's just about our 4-year anniversary here at Inside Sim Racing.
Almost to the day. Sean and I put out SRT1 on about August 18th, 2007.
Well, here we are, Sean, episode 1 of Sim Racing Tonight, and man, what a cool studio.
Yeah, it's really something. You know, we got full funding for season 1, so we're all set, man. Should we tell them what we got in store for tonight, or should we just get things started?
Why don't we tell them about tonight's episode, and then we'll get things rolling.
Probably good.
And so, yeah, 4 years we've been putting out shows. Over 200 shows now just on our Sim Racing Tonight channel, plus our SRT Media has 50-plus shows, so...
I can't believe it's been 4 years. I started out here as an intern, just trying to get a little experience behind the camera, and...
Starters, we want to introduce the new host of Inside Sim Racing, Jessica Lopez.
Thanks, Sean. Hi, everyone out there. I'm really looking forward to working with you guys and getting involved with sim racing.
Oh, really? Getting involved with sim racing, huh? We got 8 hours of Sebring coming up. You going to run with us?
I don't know about that one. I'm aging on the show now.
We all are. I mean, look at how much more gray hair I have, and yeah, we've all had a great time. I'll say it for Sean too. We've had a great time meeting you and all the different people that have been involved on the show, and that we've got to meet because of the show. You know, all the different developers and all the different cool things we've got to do. So
now, I've been on this show for such a long time, and I think I've lasted this long as well as yourself and Sean, because we've had so much fun doing this show, and we plan to continue doing it and keep having more fun.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, this is my hobby, and this is where it started. Is, you know, Sean, if you don't know, I mean, if you're just starting to watch our shows and wondered how we started, Sean and I have been sim racers since like the late 80s. And literally, and it's just been our hobby and one of our passions, mainly because we couldn't afford to race in real life. I mean, if I could afford to race a real car, I'd be racing a real car, there's no question, or at least be attempting to at some level. But that's been the main reason why, is just our passion for motorsports, and which has turned into sim racing. Speaking
of passion for motorsports, we have someone else out there with a lot of passion, and it's actually his 2nd year anniversary, and that's Andreas Nee from Germany. Yep. He covered a Gamescom for us last year, and he's doing the same actually as we speak, probably.
Yeah, that's right. He's at Gamescom in Cologne, and he did a great job for us, you know, last year. And you know, this isn't Andreas's day job, but he makes it look like he, you know,
he's very good at what he does.
And this isn't even his native language either, and he does a great job in covering. I mean, we're going to end up with 80 gigs of footage, I'm sure.
And he's a one-man crew.
He is. And he's going to be checking out some cool stuff for us.
Yep, he's out there in Cologne, Germany at Gamescom 2011, checking out some F1 2011, some Forza 4, the Thrustmaster shifter, which he called and said that he got to see behind the scenes. Yep,
which they've actually just announced. They've officially announced that shifter is coming out. I mean, they've announced that it's been coming, but they put out a press release in conjunction with Gamescom that shows some pictures of it and talks about it, and we have some pictures of that press release here. But yeah, and then Fanatic.
We'll see if he gets to meet Mr. T, if he has the pleasure of
Your
meeting
buddy?
him. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard rumor he might be there. I'm not sure, but Thomas is definitely going to be there. And they've got the Club Sport wheel on display with the Formula One quick release setup, and that's going to be at the F1 2011 booth, and we'll have footage of that.
Speaking of F1 2011, he will be interviewing the developers of that title, and hopefully we will bring you guys as much information as we can. I know a lot of viewers have been patiently awaiting and asking us for information on that title.
And speaking of patiently awaiting, everybody that has been into this title or the last one has been asking about a safety car. And we got a picture here of Stephen Hood. They announced the safety car at Gamescom, so it's going to be implemented. Not sure if that means cautions during the race or if they're just going to have a parade lap with the safety car, but
I'm sure Andreas will find out all the details that we need to know about that safety car.
Yeah, and F1 2011 will be available September 23rd, and rumor also has it that we'll be getting a copy of something post Gamescom. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you guys some pre-release coverage because it's coming soon, September 23rd. So
Right around the corner.
PC, Xbox, and PS3.
All right, now it's time for our rig of the week. And this is a cool
I love this
part of the show.
Part of the show now.
And this guy, Frank, posted this rig in our forums. And it's the Lotus 78 cockpit. And it's based off the dimensions of the classic F1 car.
Using a sketch drawing in the book, The Ground Effects, which is based on the Lotus 78 and 79, that had some very faint notes on some measurements of the car, and Frank was able to get his rig as close as possible to the cockpit of the original.
Yeah, and I guess he had some problems getting the measurements of the Lotus when he called around to different manufacturers and tried to get some measurements.
I guess that's a no-no, asking for Formula One
luck.
specs or... No, they don't, I guess that's sacrilegious to ask of such a thing.
But it's a beautiful rig, and he's done a great job emulating the Lotus 78.
Yeah, that's real. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
That thing's really cool. I don't, honestly, I don't know if I'd even fit in it, but, you know, maybe in 6'4", but if I was to build, I would have built it to accommodate my size.
Now it has the Frex wheel, which he chose over the ECCI because of space limitations. He also went with the Lightning SST shifter from SimGear because of the tight confines of his rig.
Speaking of tight confines, he's using this Ultra Force GS3 for motion simulation, which we have yet to try here on the show. But I believe it was developed by a guy that I know, Pat Dotson, that's been around sim racing forever. But that looks pretty interesting. Also included is this button box from Derek Spear Designs, which I'm very familiar with, but he's got a cool looking one there. He's got a Z1 SimWheel LCD display to use as tack because a real tack was too big, so he had to go kind of modern there on that. And then he's got a Williams racing harness, which kind of going a little overkill, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's from a real Lotus. Now, if this rig isn't enough, he plans on furthering it by building a 180-degree, 6-foot-high curved screen with triple 3D projectors.
That's crazy.
Mean,
that would be awesome. Talk
movie
about
theater
immersion.
status.
Yeah, pretty much so. I mean, he's going to be like sitting in the middle of the whole thing.
So, Frank, when you do that, make sure you send us pictures. We'd love to see it. And
Definitely. We'll bring you back on
I'd
the
love
show.
to try it.
Yeah. Where do you live, Frank? Man, based on your name, which we didn't pronounce because we don't want to butcher it, we're curious where you're at. So send us some information on that, Frank. But yeah, thanks for sharing your rig with us. It's amazing. Oh, I'd like to also add, he's got some CST pedals in that thing that are buried deep down in the well of that cockpit. So he's gone all out.
Yep, it looks like he's come a long way since ditching that DFP and play seat that he started with.
Much bigger difference. He's had a few rigs, I think he had an Obutto too at one point. So he's really come a long way with his rig building. If you'd like to have your rig on the show, send us an email at info@insidesimracing.tv or post your rig in our forums, and we're gonna have a link to that in our description here. But
and maybe you'll be on the next show.
yeah, go check out the other rigs that are there. There's pages and pages of rigs that people have posted, and it's becoming quite a spectacle there in our
Quite a
rig
trending
section.
topic.
Yep.
Okay, that leads us to commercial break, and we'll have some race recaps when we return.
GamePod, the ultimate race rig for those serious about sim racing. Puts you in the driver's seat with all the controls at your fingertips. Be number one on the road, in the race, in the game. GamePod, the choice of champions.
Welcome back to the show, guys. Before we get to our race recaps for today, we have a couple of other tidbits of news to you guys. Starting with Codemasters, who's released a patch for Dirt 3. This is version 1.02, and it addresses a multitude of problems and adds new features, such as 3D support.
It also adds improvements to the input system, support for multiple device action maps, and the user can now set button configurations to span multiple devices, and previously a bug would cause these settings to be lost when you restarted the game.
Reset line corrections to prevent potential out-of-world or driving into crowd issues on several tracks.
This one was one that bugged me. The steering wheel used to jolt to the left during the reward screen. They've gotten rid of that. They've fixed that bug, so that's cool.
And they've also adjusted head camera configuration to avoid excessive vibration effects. The patch addresses all of these issues and more. To see the full list and to download it, you can head on over to the Codemasters forum, which we have a link that takes you directly there here in the description of the show. If you have Steam, it'll automatically update.
That's right. And next up for the modding scene, Virtua LM has released a version of Sebring. Originally they released one for R-Factor and GTR2. Now they've released a version for Race 07 and GT Legends. And that rounds out all of the Simbin titles. As usual, as one of the premier track builders in the modding community, Virtua LM maxes out the game's graphics capabilities with great textures, lots of trackside objects, and amazing night lighting. To check it out, head on over to virtualr.net, and we've got the link in our description, and you can download that and check out the full story there.
All right, it's time for your race recap, and with only 5 races remaining, the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship headed to Joliet, Illinois to Chicagoland Speedway for round 14 of 18. This week, the 43 NASCAR Series drivers had 133 laps ahead of them. Josh Parker sat on the pole with a 29.729, followed closely by Brad Davies with a 29.775. Season points leader Ray Alfala qualified in 12th, so he had his work cut out for him.
Josh Parker ready to lead him down that suave Chevrolet. Green flag is in the air. Nim and Darrell, we are racing in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship here at Chicago.
There were only 4 cautions, and the first one came really early on as the drivers tried to settle in. It came in on lap 3 and involved Chad Coleman and Jamison Spieth. Then the drivers settled into a nice run that Josh Parker led and ended on lap 45 when the second caution came out and Connor McKenzie spun, exiting the pits while he was 8 laps down after a connection problem. During the pit stops, John Gorlinski only took 2 tires and came out ahead of everyone and ended up leading a lot of laps during this next green flag run. Then the first big one came when Patrick Fogel lost the handle, hit the wall, and took a bunch of cars with him.
Trouble, the 51 of Patrick Fogel.
Oh, we got the big trouble here.
Heavy contact. Gilbert's involved. The 51 car is involved. And they're still coming, still wrecking.
Then the longest run of the night took place, and so did green flag pit stops. Lots of guys had some problems getting their cars woed up while running at speed, most notably pole sitter Josh Parker, who was running up front all day until this moment with 33 laps to go.
Top 3 coming to pit road in the attention of their crews. Sorry, Parker spins. Parker will spin on the entrance to pit road. He will pound the inside wall.
It remained green and Parker would lose the battle with the lead group. Schoenberg ran out of fuel during this run with 26 laps to go, lost it entering the pits, and was out of fuel, ending his day in 35th position. After all the pit cycles, Brad Davies found himself in a battle for the lead with Derek Wood in tow. Davies would make a pass for the lead on Gorlinski with 10 laps to go, and that would be it.
I don't see any way that Gorlinski's going to be able to hold off this challenge by Davies.
He gets on the right rear quarter panel. That's the absolute most vulnerable place to be on one of these cars, Nim, to try to suck the Brad Davies machine around. It's not successful. Gorlinski has slipped 1 lap ago, right here in turns 3 and 4, might have cost him the race.
It was a scary moment as Nolan Scott lost a tire right in front of the leaders and spun, almost taking them with. The caution came out for the last time with just under 5 laps to go, and that's the way the race would end again, under the yellow flag. Brad Davies took his 3rd win of the season, followed by Derek Wood and John Gorlinski. More shakeups in the top 5, with Schoenberg dropping back to 7th in points, and Brad Davies with his win moved up to 4th. Stay tuned to PSR TV for round 15 of 18 as the series heads over to Dover International Speedway on August 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And next up over on the road side, the iRacing NVIDIA Grand Prix Series headed to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in what's probably the shortest track on the schedule for round 13 of 18. Klaus Kivica still leads the way over his teammate Hugo Louis and reigning champ Gregor Houtu. But at this point, Hutu has a slight chance of catching Kvykus, but only if Kvykus falters. Jesse Niemann sat on the pole, his 6th of the season, followed by teammate Hugo Louis and Hutu. Kvykus started right behind Hutu in 4th, followed by 2 more My3ID drivers, Sari and Williams.
And they're off, Darren.
Here they go. Gregor got a good start this time, actually pressuring.
There were a few incidents at the start, but none involving the front runners. The worst was the shunt that sent Ben Cornette hard into the barrier. The start would see the usual tandem of Niemann and Louis leading the way. Hutu and Kvykus would hook up and mirror the Niemann and Louis tandem until pit stop cycled. The biggest moment of the race came on lap 46 as Niemann came out for his second pit stop right as Hutu was coming up on him.
Out in front of Gregor. Gregor to the inside. It bumped Jesse off the track.
They went side by side into the keyhole and made wheel-to-wheel contact, sending Niemann off track, causing some damage. He pit for repairs, but due to the rear wing damage, he spun again and ended up having to call it a day. Then it came down to pit strategies, and in the end, it would pay off for Hugo Louis, who was able to best Hutu by almost 10 seconds and capture his 2nd win of the season.
Watch your driver, Hugo Louis, take the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Race.
Kvykus ended where he started and rounded out the podium not far behind Hutu, 13.5 seconds behind his teammate Hugo Louis. Hutu and Louis would end up picking up a few points, but not many on the season's most consistent driver and points leader Klaus Kvykus. Louis is now just 18 points back of his teammate with or without drops factored in. The series heads to Spa-Francorchamps for round 14, and I know the drivers are going to be happy to stretch their legs at a proper F1 circuit.
All right, well, that wraps up this week in Sim Racing, August 19th, 2011 edition. Make sure you head on over to our website, InsideSimRacing.tv, and register and talk to us on our forums. Send us your rig pictures if you have your own rig.
That's right, and make sure to tune in during next week. We're going to have as much Gamescom footage as we can sift through. Like I said, Andreas is going to bury us in footage, which is a great thing for all of us, so hopefully you'll enjoy that stuff next week.
One other thing I'd like to mention very quickly, if you're in the Southern California area, come on over to the Tamiya Nationals, where all of us here at Inside Sim Racing will be present, and we'll be doing some RC racing and a little bit of sim racing. So come out and visit us and say hi. You can look it up at their website, and to links to everything that we talked about here today, we have them all here in the description of the show.
Matter of fact, we're going to have some free iRacing stuff there too. Some iRacing months giveaway, even a few year giveaways. So if you're not an iRacing member, come on out and become one.
It's going to be a good time.
That's right.
All right, for Darren Ganji, I'm Jessica Lopez. Check us out, and so are we.